Ladies and gentlemen, there is a reason the air shifts when certain people enter a room. Long before they open their mouths, long before anyone knows their name or their story, something is felt. It is not their appearance. It is not their resume. It is not their applause. It is their presence. And presence, let me tell you, is no accident. Presence is the result of purpose, of discipline, of alignment, of a soul that has been forged in silence and proven in solitude. You don't stumble into powerful presence, you build it. Now, most people are performers. They walk into rooms wearing masks, seeking approval, validation, applause. But performers don't last. Their aura fades when the lights dim, because what they project is not who they are, it is who they wish you'd believe them to be. But the rare ones, the ones who walk with quiet confidence, who carry stillness like a sword, who do not chase influence but attract it, these are the people who have done the work, the inner work, the hard work. They have become masters of themselves. Understand this truth. Your aura, your unseen energy, is not a reflection of who you wish to be. It is the evidence of who you've already become. You cannot fake energy. You cannot Photoshop presence. You cannot decorate emptiness. Your aura is the most honest thing about you. So you must ask yourself today, not what do people see when I speak, but what do they feel before I ever open my mouth? Am I a lighthouse or a flickering flame? Am I chasing attention or commanding respect with stillness? Because here's the truth. Your aura is either your most magnetic asset or your most neglected liability. The choice, as always, is yours. If you don't subscribe our channel, please subscribe us for daily motivations. Before a single word leaves your lips, before a name is exchanged or a reputation precedes you, there exists an invisible current, an unseen field of energy that announces you. This is not mysticism. It is a fact of human experience. Call it vibration, frequency, resonance, whatever term fits your understanding. It is the first and truest language we ever speak. It is older than words, deeper than appearance, and more revealing than biography. Every human being is at all times emitting a signal, and that signal is not manufactured in the moment. It is crafted over time. It is the byproduct of your dominant thoughts, your habits of belief, your patterns of emotion. People sense you long before they see you clearly. You've felt it yourself, the presence of someone who walks into a room and instantly shifts its tone, not with volume, not with movement, but with energy that commands attention without seeking it. That power is not charisma. It is not performance. It is coherence. It is the alignment between inner truth and outward existence. You cannot purchase it, mimic it, or pretend your way into it. It is earned in the silent hours when no one is watching. It is cultivated in the invisible choices you make when discipline is easier to ignore. Energy precedes identity, because energy reveals what identity conceals. Words can lie. Status can distract, but Energy speaks in the language of essence. It whispers what the soul carries, whether you want it to or not. This is why authenticity isn't a strategy, it's a state of being. Your aura is the sum of every internal choice you've made and continue to make. And whether or not you're aware of it, others feel it, not with their minds, but with something deeper, their instinct for truth. When an individual is anchored in purpose, they become a force that does not waver in the face of distraction, comparison, or doubt. Purpose is not a slogan, nor is it a fleeting motivation sparked by external praise. It is the inner compass that silently governs thought, decision, and direction. When you operate from this level of clarity, presence becomes a natural consequence, not something forced or fabricated, but something that radiates effortlessly from within. People are drawn to those who know exactly why they are moving, even if they do not fully understand where they are headed. That certainty, that internal resolve, emits a signal stronger than any polished speech or crafted image. Purpose brings order to chaos. It arranges the internal architecture of your being so that energy flows without resistance. Without purpose, the self becomes fragmented, torn between impulse and expectation, between image and reality. But when every action is tethered to a definitive why, there is harmony. And where there is harmony, there is power. This harmony produces a presence that needs no introduction. People feel it. They might not articulate it, but they trust it, or they fear it, because it exposes the instability in those who lack it. Presence rooted in purpose cannot be shaken by temporary outcomes. Wins and losses do not define the individual who is led by mission rather than mood. They move differently, not faster, but deeper. Their silence speaks more than another's argument. Their restraint feels more commanding than another's outburst. Because purpose provides weight. It gives dimension to a person's existence, like gravity to a planet. Others orbit around it, not because they are forced to, but because they cannot ignore what is unmistakably real. That kind of presence cannot be taught in words. It must be lived into, day by day, in full alignment with that invisible but unwavering inner call. Discipline is the unseen architect of power. It is not glamorous, and it is rarely applauded, yet it is the one force responsible for shaping the intangible structures that determine the quality of a person's presence. While the world often fixates on talent, charm, or external metrics of success, discipline works quietly in the background, chiseling character, refining thought, and conditioning the nervous system to remain calm under pressure. It is the art of saying no when every lesser voice tempts a yes. It is the consistent return to principle over preference, to structure over sensation. Through discipline, a person gains dominion not over the world, but over themselves. And that is the foundation upon which all lasting power is built. The undisciplined mind leaks energy. It is scattered, impulsive, easily drawn into emotional chaos or external distraction. But a disciplined mind is focused, stable, and deliberate. This creates a kind of energetic density in a person, something that is felt even when they are silent. They do not need to declare their authority. Their self-regulation does that for them. Their boundaries are not rigid walls, but natural extensions of their self-respect. They are not driven by urgency, because they are already aligned with a deeper rhythm, one that is immune to noise. Discipline sculpts the aura. It makes invisible integrity visible. Over time, it creates coherence between word and action, intent and behavior, thought and outcome, and that coherence is unmistakable. It produces a gravitational field around a person that others notice without knowing why. They walk into a space and people instinctively adjust, not because they are intimidating, but because they are internally ordered. They have paid the price of becoming unshakable, and that cost is etched into their energy. Discipline, then, is not merely a practice. It is a vibration. Alignment is the state in which thought, emotion, action, and values move in unified direction. It is not a condition one stumbles upon by accident, but a result of inner examination, continuous self-correction, and the refusal to live divided. Most people live in fragmentation, saying one thing, doing another, and secretly believing something else entirely. This inner conflict is not always visible to the eye, but it is always felt. It creates dissonance and energetic friction that diminishes presence and weakens impact. Alignment, on the other hand, generates coherence, a rare and potent form of internal harmony that amplifies a person's influence without effort or excess. When a person is aligned, they do not need to posture or persuade. Their being speaks louder than their words. Their decisions carry a weight that is not born of status, but of congruence. There is no contradiction in their presence. There is unity, and this unity generates power. Real power, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that commands trust without asking for it. The aligned individual becomes magnetic, not because they are trying to be, but because others crave the stability they embody. In alignment, energy flows. Without resistance, creativity increases, clarity sharpens, and time bends to purpose. The person ceases to be distracted by what is popular and becomes devoted to what is true. They no longer require external validation because their internal compass is precise. This kind of clarity is not loud, it is subtle yet unmistakable. People sense the integrity before they understand the message. They feel the depth before they hear the logic. Alignment is not merely a mental decision. It is a spiritual structure, reinforced through consistent choices that bring the self into order. And where there is order, there is a frequency that cuts through noise and speaks directly to the soul. Self-mastery is the quiet conquest of one's own lower nature. It is not a battle waged in public view, but an internal discipline exercised in private, often without recognition, applause, or reward. It is the rare capacity to remain centered when provoked, to stay rooted in principle when seduced by pleasure, and to act from intention rather than impulse. The individual who has achieved self-mastery is no longer governed by external conditions. They do not react to circumstances, they respond from consciousness. Their emotions serve them rather than sabotage them. Their thoughts are tools, not tyrants, and their desires are directed, not dominant. True influence arises from this state of inner governance. While the world often associates leadership with visibility and volume, the one who has mastered themselves leads without raising their voice. They possess an energy that transcends persuasion. It is a resonance that others instinctively follow, not out of fear or admiration, but because something within recognizes the stability they represent. People do not trust what is loud, they trust what is grounded, and grounding is the natural outcome of self-mastery. The mastered self is not reactive to praise or blame. It moves from a place of stillness, a deep interior clarity that does not fluctuate with opinion. This gives rise to a powerful kind of presence, one that is rare, refined, and impossible to fabricate. Others may imitate the outer behaviors of mastery, but the energetic signature cannot be faked. It is earned through struggle, through restraint, through the long, silent work of refining the self at every level. To master oneself is to become immune to manipulation, free from compulsion, and sovereign in both thought and action. This sovereignty becomes evident not through performance, but through presence, the kind of presence that speaks volumes without a single word. Energy is the most honest expression of a human being. Long before anything is spoken, before credentials are shared or stories are told, energy communicates the truth. It is the essence beneath the surface, the residue of thought patterns, emotional habits, and lived experience. You can craft an image, polish a message, even master the techniques of persuasion. But the energy behind those actions will always expose the underlying reality. It is not what you say that shapes the atmosphere, it is who you are when you say it. The aura does not lie because it cannot lie. It is the echo of your inner world made visible through presence. People often misunderstand presence as style, charisma, or social command. A true presence has nothing to do with theatrics. It has everything to do with congruence. When a person's outer life reflects their inner reality, when their voice matches the depth of their convictions, and when their movement flows from integrity, a kind of invisible resonance emerges. That resonance affects rooms, shapes conversations, and alters decision. It is the unseen language of trust, influence, and power. And it is only accessible to those who have done the work to unify who they are with what they express. An inauthentic aura creates dissonance, subtle but undeniable. People may not be able to explain it, but they feel the disconnect. The eyes say one thing, the energy another, and in that space of contradiction, doubt is born. But when a person's aura is aligned with their truth, the opposite occurs. Even in silence, they speak volumes. Even without credentials, they carry weight. Because energy is not a tool to manipulate, it is a mirror. It reflects not who you pretend to be, but who you have become. It is the residue of your discipline, the echo of your values, the signature of your soul's alignment. Best of luck. Thank you.